Hi there, hope everything is well with you. Martin here, founder of Paradigm Shift, with another case study video, this time on how to get the AJ marks in requirement 2 and requirement 3. Very similar requirements, and we've got the same advice on the AJ marks, so we're going to cover that together in one video. So a very common question we get by email is, I can't seem to pick up the AJ marks. Do you have any advice? So point number one, try not to think too consciously in terms of applying judgment, as that isn't something we normally have to do. In other words, we don't sit in the office writing away or doing work and think, oh right, I now need to apply some judgment. So it follows that this term is kind of a bit vague, a bit technical. It doesn't really give us very good advice or guidance on what we actually have to do. So related to that, point two, instead, try to learn the patterns in the past papers. This video will hopefully help. We've gone back a couple of years in the past papers to try and identify the things that tend to score the AJ marks. And then you can just do those things rather than sitting there thinking, I need to apply judgment and getting nowhere, because that doesn't really help. So try and go through the video, extract the ideas, put them onto your planning sheets, and then in the exam, you've got some ideas to draw upon. Obviously, you need to decide on the day which of the ideas are best, but we're just going to give you, perhaps, let's say, a menu of ideas to pick from. You don't necessarily have to put them in every time. So evaluation of calculations. This will always generate quite a few different marks. So evaluate the relative size and materiality of transactions or contracts. So you could compare the size of the project that you've evaluated with the financial modelling work to a previous project where that's mentioned in the advanced information. Compare values across different methods, so discounting multiples, fee-based methods. Can we say anything about how the method affects the calculation? Or are there different methods that we could use to improve the financial model? So you can mention to use specific growth rates, for example, per year by the territory or the source for more reliable forecasting. So it's another mark to do with criticising the model politely, basically. Maybe we can cross-check some external data, could be consultants or market data, against internal forecasts. You could compare different options or cases to assess the impact on value for the business. Sensitivity analysis. You can look at how key variables affect value. This is another question, or another area where we get a lot of questions. You don't have to do anything complicated for sensitivity analysis. It is very generously marked, so really anything sensible will be fine. There's no point doing anything complicated, and probably have a maximum of one, or absolute maximum 2 sentences. Don't have a whole section on the sensitivity analysis. There's only a little bit of credit available. Forecasts, estimates and assumptions. So you can assess the reasonableness of the assumptions used and criticise them. Be alert to any potential inaccuracies. When you flag these, it's considered applying judgment. Again, try and use figures from recent deals or comparable companies wherever that's possible. Could be mentioned in the advanced information, or perhaps in the question paper information, including the media articles that they provide. Consider variability of assumptions across markets, time periods, or product types. Evaluate the cost forecasts, whether they align with business experience, including how the business has been doing per requirement 1. So again, in general, when you're querying the assumptions, making any comparisons, that is part of applying judgment. Operational and strategic impact. Portfolio impact. Try and review how new projects or contracts diversify or enhance the business portfolio. On the other hand, perhaps they won't diversify things, and you can make that comment instead. Risk assessment can be part of applying judgment, so consider potential upside and risk trade-offs of the different options. Business development. Identify whether the project will lead to new business opportunities, extensions or renewals. Operational risks to consider based on the past papers. So lack of experience, staff or capacity constraints, cost uncertainty, impact on other areas of the business. In other words, if we go ahead with the new project and it's a really good, huge opportunity, that's great, but does it have an opportunity cost in terms of a negative impact on the rest of the business? We need to recognise timing risks and dependencies, so product launches, regulatory issues. These, again, part of applying judgment. Commercial and bargaining position. So think about pricing and bargaining power. Understand the implications of pricing decisions on customers and competitors. Consider which party has bargaining power and whether that affects the pricing or terms. You can look at reputational risks. Identify reputational risks, including media exposure or social commentary. Stakeholder alignment. Evaluate alignment of stakeholder incentives or possible bias. You can look at funding readiness. Make the point we need to ensure that necessary funding is in place to complete any transactions. Look at the cash balance at the most recent year end and use that as an indicator of the cash that is available. Are we able to fund this or not? Market dynamics look at how market conditions and competitor reactions might impact on commercial decisions. Ethical, behavioural and trust issues. So this is something we point out when we reply to our numerous emails, that always requirement 3 has ethics issues. Requirement 2 will often have ethics issues, not every time, but simply by dealing with those issues in some of the ways that we're going to look at here, that counts towards applying judgment. So it's kind of something you do automatically if you do a decent attempt at your ethics discussion. And like we said at the start, it's an example where sitting there saying I need to apply judgment, it doesn't help. What you need to do is do a good job of your ethics response, and you'll automatically be scoring, hopefully, the AJ marks for ethics. So look at bias and conflicts. Identify potential bias or conflicts of interest in decision-making or the data provided. Brand and reputation. Consider brand and reputational risks, especially around public messaging and staff treatment. Values and fairness. Assess the implications of fairness, equity, and corporate values. For example, sustainability claims, staff well-being. Legal considerations. Highlight the need for legal advice, especially where there's any intellectual property, IP, artificial intelligence, AI, or contract rights are involved. Due diligence. Check for sufficient due diligence on partners and investments. Moving into the final area now, so stakeholders and governance. So understanding stakeholder impact, something we hinted at a bit earlier, but if you comment on how the project's going to affect staff, such as redundancies, morale, remote working, that can be judgment marks. Customers, service quality, pricing, and impacts there. Directors and investors, value growth, potential conflicts. Partners and suppliers, negotiation, leverage, and the terms of the contracts. All of these are judgment marks. Consider governance safeguards, for example, auditing of key figures, transparency of decision-making. This overlaps a bit with ethics as well. So that's it. We've, again, as we said, gone through the recent past papers. These are the marks that tend to work. So these are the ideas to have on your planning sheets, rather than the phrase applying judgment. It's just not specific enough for guidance. So that's it for this video, and I hope you found it useful. Please check out our other videos, and if you like this video, please click the like button. That gives us a bit of a boost on YouTube, and then we can help more students. Thanks again for watching, and best of luck with your studies.